showers and thunderstorms.
Thank you, Mary. Divorce laws are changing soon in Maryland, and our next expert says there are some things that you need to know and important decisions to make before you walk down the aisle. Family law attorney Kirk Kolodner is joining us this morning. Hello.
Hello, Jennifer.
Thanks for coming in. So tell us about this new law.
Well, the new law, which goes into effect October 1st, is entitled mutual consent, and it allows parties who are in an agreement already, who have an agreement, to accelerate the time so that they don't have to wait the 12-month normal waiting period.
So you don't have to be separated for a year before you can file for divorce. And this is only, though, if they don't have children?
Right, they can have children, but they can't have children in common who are still under the age of 18.
Okay.
They have to have settled all their property rights and resolved alimony, which could be a waiver of all of those things.
Right.
They have to have a written agreement, of course, and neither has to move to set aside the agreement. And they both have to appear at the hearing, which is contrary to existing law, where only the moving party has to show up for the hearing.
Okay, so how much, obviously it expedites it by a year, that separation agreement, but can they essentially get divorced within just a matter of months?
Well, hasn't been tested yet because the law goes into effect October 1st, but you should be able, theoretically, to file your complaint for divorce and within a month have your divorce over with.
Wow.
Or even sooner, depending upon how fast the court can process the papers.
All right, that's quite a change. Now, you also want to talk a little bit about some prenuptial agreements. They're not quite as common as they used to be, is that right?
Well, actually, I think they're coming into favor slightly more than they used to be.
They're coming back in vogue?
Yes.
Okay.
They were very popular with celebrities and the affluent, and I think there's a greater need for people to use prenuptial agreements because they can minimize risk, create some certainty as to outcome, and plan in effect for what might be an eventuality.
Well, you say that, but isn't this such a sticky topic and hard for couples to talk about?
It's a very hard topic, and I think that's why a lot of couples don't have prenuptial agreements.
But your advice is to do it. So what do you talk about with the prenup?
Well, prenuptial can cover a lot of ground. Obviously, it can't cover issues having to do with children because a judge always has the right to modify or make changes with respect to children.
Like property ownership?
Yeah, it deals with property ownership, alimony, either a waiver of alimony or to provide for an amount of alimony for each number of years of marriage. It deals with bank accounts, debt, who gets the house, all of the issues that would be resolved through divorce where you don't have an agreement prior to the divorce. So this creates some certainty looking down the road, which can be very difficult to do, and that's why some of these agreements call for a renegotiation a number of years later, or they have a sunset provision.
Yeah, what is that?
That's where it just disappears. It terminates. It's no longer valid after 10 years, 15 years of marriage, as if they never had this agreement.
That's interesting. So is it a misconception to think that only wealthy people get prenups?
I think so. Certainly wealthy people sometimes have prenups. I think it's a good thing to have for more and more people, simply because it minimizes risk and creates some control going into the marriage. Now, I don't have a prenuptial agreement myself, and a lot of people don't because it sort of puts the kibosh, in a sense, on the marriage.
It sure does.
But if it's a second marriage or a third marriage and you're later in life and you have maybe adult children and grandchildren, you want to make sure that late in life you're not fighting with your spouse over assets when you've already made provisions for your children and your grandchildren.
Kirk Kolodner, thank you so much for coming in this morning. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Stay with us. Thank you. And stay with us. Humane Society of Harford County is coming up next with a little kitty cat looking for a good home. First, though, here's a look at last night's winning lottery numbers.